The 2026 NBA draft could have some very, very fun shooting guards, both in the freshman class and with returners. We'll tell you who you need to know next.
You are Locked On NBA Draft with No Ceilings, your daily podcast on the future stars of the NBA, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On NBA Draft with No Ceilings. My name is Tyler Metcalf. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is closer than you think, and right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Joining me, as always, is my co-host, Tyler Rucker. How are we doing?
Metcalf, I'm doing better now that I'm talking to you, and we got football season around the corner, but we get to talk basketball today. That means it's a great day. How are you doing, sir?
I'm terrific. I know football's right here. Technically, it's here already. But basketball's like peeking its head around the corner. Like, don't forget about me. I'm right here. I'm coming for you. In case you missed it, on Monday we talked about some of the biggest point guards to know, returners, incoming freshmen, all of it. Go back, check that out in case you missed it. But today we got shooting guards. It's going to be a fun one. Going to be loaded topic-wise. We have shooting guards who could emerge as some of the best in the country. We have some of the top returning shooting guards, but we're going to start with the freshmen. And the top of this freshman shooting guard class is insanely loaded. There are three guys who I think one could very easily be the number one pick. Another one could be a top 5 pick. Another one could work his way into the lottery range. There's so much talent, so much athleticism. Let's start with Tounde Yessoufou, shooting guard headed to Baylor. Darryn Peterson, shooting guard headed to Kansas. Meleek Thomas, point guard, shooting guard, combo guard. We're going with shooting guard today. Headed to Arkansas. Where do you want to start with those guys?
I kind of want to change things up and start with Meleek Thomas, if that's okay with you,
Absolutely,
sir. Because this is one name that myself, and you, as well as some other guys at No Ceilings, we got to see in person a couple times, and I think the more I watch Meleek Thomas, the more I got very excited and intrigued about the potential he's got this year. Bucket getting machine, guy who could really score in bunches. He's probably going to put up some fun numbers this year, but I also think there's a lot more to his game. There's some playmaking. There's some good vision. There's just a good basketball player there that I think could surprise some people. And like you said, to kind of start this all off, I think he could kind of create enough momentum throughout the year to cement himself as a lottery pick. So I think I'm looking at Meleek as one of those guys that might start a little bit lower on some boards, but could slowly get some momentum and make some noise and be a big-time name this year, even as a freshman.
Yeah, so Arkansas has him listed at 6'5", 185. Feels a little big based on what we saw in person, but really fun athlete, really shifty and dynamic scorer. And then when you think about putting him in that backcourt and just on the court with some of the other talent and the guards that Arkansas has, and Darius Acuff, Carter Knox, DJ Wagner, Billy Richmond, they're going to be really fun back there. And I think he provides something that the rest of those guys don't give their rotation, and that's almost like a certified bucket getter. Now, there's more to his game than that, but I'm expecting that's going to be the role he probably falls into, as more of that spark plug, 6-man type of scorer coming off the bench and complementing the rest of those guys, because none of them create the way that he does. None of them convincingly space the floor the way he does, especially in an on-ball role, at least in my eyes.
I completely agree. I think, especially when you're a freshman and when you're a school or a team that is this much intriguing talent on the roster, eventually you need guys that could score, because you're going to try to cement to a lot of these kids of like, hey, play team basketball. Let's try to get locking in on the defensive side of the ball. When in doubt, you need someone that if everybody else is struggling, they can just do their thing and get a bucket. That's Meleek Thomas. I think that's why he could get so many minutes early on, is because the man has a gift to score the basketball. Like, there is some serious weaponry with his game. So I think that's why if the rest of the game can start to showcase even a little bit of development, then you're going to get really exciting when it comes to NBA scouts and looking at Meleek Thomas as an NBA prospect.
And I think there's potential there for him as a defender because, when we saw him in person at Hoop Summit, I loved how competitive that dude was. Like, he was getting into guys, he was talking his stuff, and really going after it. So he's on the more slender side. So that's just obviously a natural limitation. But I think there's some intangible stuff there that he could continue to unlock. Tounde Yessoufou, love him, awesome athlete. I believe California's all-time high school scoring leader. Insanely impressive at Hoop Summit. Another one of these guys that just continues to trend up boards and impress people every step of the way. Where are you at with Tounde?
Yeah, I mean, we all respect to Meleek Thomas. We said he's a little thin. That is not Tounde Yessoufou. He is stacked. He is ripped. He is he looks like a walking clone of Anthony Edwards when you talk about just how he carries himself, how he plays the game, and his frame's very impressive. Tunde's going to be very fun at Baylor. I'm waiting to see if that Baylor team's going to give him a lot of reinforcements alongside him. But when you're talking about potentially a top 6 prospect that could really make some noise to continue to climb up the ranks and maybe cement himself as maybe, going number 5 with a strong year, I think Tunde's got a real chance to do that. Now, I think with a lot of prospects, Metcalf, he can score. We just want to see if the 3-point shot is going to come along. So I'm very excited to watch Tounde this year. Even at Baylor, I think he could make a lot of noise. There's competitiveness. There's athleticism.
Yeah.
I think the playmaking, if it could come along and showcase playing with some feel, there's some really good stuff with Tounde. What about you?
Are you that skeptical with the shot, or is it just that you need to see a little more consistency?
Yeah, I think it's the consistency just from deep is what I'm talking about. Like I want to see, is he going to be 31% from 3, or are we going to get towards that north over that 35% hump? Because that's another ballpark. If he's flirting with 40% from downtown, my goodness, then that's a real monster. But I guess for me, it's just always been the consistency. I've seen some times where he gets hot and I'm like, looks really good. And I've seen some times where I'm like, okay, spraying it a little bit, but you don't get that, like you said, the California all-time scoring leader for high school. You don't get that just off of layups usually.
Yeah, I'm almost more intrigued to see what the defense looks like, because Baylor guards have a pretty solid reputation now of being solid defenders and having to defend to be out there. The flashes with him on that end are really shockingly impressive, especially when it comes to defensive playmaking with how much ground he can cover because of how explosive and athletic he is. But it goes back to that consistency aspect. I think he wants, I don't think it's for a lack of wanting or lack of desire or lack of competitiveness. I think all of those intangibles are through the roof with him, but fundamentally and just cognitively, can he stay locked in? Can he continuously sit down in the stance, slide his feet, be disciplined? And I feel like we have yet to see that outside of the occasional burst, which again is totally common for guys his age.
I think it's, with Tounde, it's a weird thing. We just had a run of Baylor guards that you're trying to figure out, where do we put Tounde in this mix? We had, Keontae George, followed by Jacoby Walter, followed by VJ Edgecombe, and now here comes Tounde. And it's like, okay, well, which version are we getting here? Are we getting the one that's a little bit closer to the Keontae version? That's the offensive-minded guard that has some ability to really be a threat on that side. You get into VJ Edgecombe, that's the athletic, leaper that could get nasty defensively. Are you going to get a little bit of a combo of that? Or is it going to be someone like Jacoby Walter that really could shoot it, but where we're trying to see the in-between game go? I think he's going to be a fascinating one to keep an eye on. I think there's a little bit more VJ, in my personal opinion, than, Keontae or Jacoby, but I'm with you. The defense, if we can see Tounde really lock in on that side of the ball, that's where I think if he can be an impact defensively as well, I think he's going to be a top 5 guy in this class. I really feel good about it.
And is it too much to ask for just all of the positives of all 3 of those guys and none of the negatives?
I don't think it's too much to ask.
That feels realistic. Why not? All right. And then finally, Darryn Peterson. we did a full episode in-depth breakdown a couple weeks ago, but for those in case you missed it, hang out, watch or listen to this episode, then go back, revisit that one. For me, still best player in this class. I would take him number one today if the draft was today. But sorry, trying to find his measurements here real quick. Kansas has him listed at 6'5", 195. I think he's going to have every opportunity to showcase everything in his arsenal on this Kansas team. Excited to see El Marco Jackson back and healthy, hopefully. Excited to see what Darryn's playmaking and pick and roll improvement over the last year looks like with Flory Badunga, rim running, and setting screens for him. I think they could run a lot of really awesome empty corner stuff with those two. Any change of heart and new enlightenment with Darryn Peterson for you?
No, I mean, it's just a bad man. And I think there's some potential really bad men at Kansas that are going to take that next step in Flory Badunga and make for great, running mates alongside Darryn. I talked to an NBA scout recently and was kind of like, hey, how you feeling about this class? And it was pretty quickly just, woo, Darryn Peterson's a bad man. So it's going to be a lot of buzz for Jayhawks fans, for NBA draft fans, for scouts when it comes to going to see this Kansas team. And I agree with you, Metcalf. I think this is going to be one of those rare cases where that roster's built kind of to let them lean on Darryn a little bit. They know what type of prospect he is. They know what type of player this kid could be. How quickly it comes together, we're going to find out, because Kansas is going to be ready to roll against some tough competition to start the year. But I think Darryn's going to be really showcasing it from the jump. We're going to see how special he is. And once that ball goes up in the air to start the year, it's off to the races for these top three recruits. And Darryn Peterson, AJ DeBonsa going to BYU, and Cam Boozer going to Duke. I think it's who's going to get number one. Like, everyone's going to be competing to kind of get that spotlight. I think Darryn's going to have a real shot to be one of the number one picks in this class.
All right, well, I think this overall shooting guard class for the 2026 draft is really highlighted by the incoming freshmen, but that doesn't mean there aren't some really exciting and talented and versatile returners that you have to keep an eye on. We'll tell you who those guys are right after this. The NFL season is almost here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. It's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little more energy to Sundays. So, are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. All right, Rucker, we got returners, but real quick, we have an important request. Locked On wants to hear from you. We've put together a survey to learn more about our listeners and make your favorite podcast even better. This is your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't, and answer questions about your advertising. Go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey to get started. Everyone who completes a survey will be entered for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Amazon gift cards. Again, that's lockedonpodcast.com/survey. You can also find the link in the show notes. Thanks for helping us out. Returners, Rucker. There are some fun ones. There are some confusing and frustrating ones. But I think the three that I'm most intrigued, curious, excited about are Miles Byrd, headed back to San Diego State, Ian Jackson transferring to St. John's, and Ryan Conwell transferring to Louisville.
Talk to me about Conwell.
Where do you want to start?
Me. I mean, I want to talk about because Louisville, we've all been focusing on Michael Brown. For everyone that's getting caught up, this is why you're here. Michael Brown Jr., 6'4", 6'5", depending on who you want to believe. Freshman point guard, buzzing. People think this is the name that's going to be going forth, if you want to say it, to summarize it all up. So Michael is going to be at Louisville. We got a couple intriguing transfers going to Louisville. Give me your thoughts. What are you thinking?
And he was so much fun at Xavier last year. Him and Dalen Swain were the two just real breakouts for them. And he did it in that just traditional shooting guard type of role. Like I think he's going to be a really awesome experienced complement to Michael Brown, to Adrian Woolley. And hopefully Kayshawn Pryor comes back healthy, because he was looking really solid in the post for them. And for Conwell to provide that floor spacing is, I think, going to be really important. I thought that was a huge get for Louisville. Last year with Xavier, he was in the 94th percentile in overall points per possession per synergy, the 82nd percentile spotting up, the 72nd percentile in transition, the 93rd percentile scoring off of screens, the 97th percentile shooting off the catch, 88th percentile shooting off the bounce, 12.3 3-point attempts per 100 possessions at 41.2%. Insane volume, really high efficiency. It's a fun combination. Playmaking, probably not a whole lot, but he's a shooting guard. And what he's going to do is provide that off-ball spacing and play finishing and versatility and decision making, while being just a solid positional defender too. So I really, really like Conwell.
Hey, he's had 2 years of 16 points per game on 40, 40, 85, or 40, 40, 80. Last year, he was only at 82.8. So you get those numbers at 6'4", 200 plus pounds in the backcourt, you're going to get attention of NBA people in a hurry. Him going to Louisville this year, I think that's a fantastic running mate for Michael Brown. And, we've said Adrian Woolley, they got some talent there. This is going to be fun. Isaac McNeely as well. I think, this is a very interesting piece to keep a firm eye on. There's not a ton of heavy hitting shooting guards. If you're looking at just old school position wise, like the ones, the twos, there's not a lot of heavy hitters. There's some freshmen that really are going to make carrying the torch this year. But I think when we're talking about the returners, there's some guys like this that could really intrigue. And Metcalf, we know how I feel about the upperclassmen. I'm always rooting for them. I'm always saying these guys need me. It just takes time. They need more respect. So I think Conwell's one that I'm getting really excited about, because I think it could be the perfect fit for him at Louisville with how much firepower they're going to have in that backcourt.
Like, I don't think a Malik Beasley-esque outcome for him is totally unreasonable on the court. Right. I think he's that level of, or potentially that level of shooter and off-ball scorer. Let's talk Miles Byrd, because last year he was one of the most polarizing prospects out there. It seemed like you either loved him or you didn't get it at all. I thought the fun stuff was fun, but it also covered up a lot of really concerning stuff. And he was one of these guys where at one point it's like, is this guy going to sneak into the top 20 or the lottery? And then he ends up not getting the feedback he wanted or hoped for, and returning to San Diego State. The big calling card with him is the defensive playmaking. He listed at 6'7", I believe, but insane defensive playmaking numbers at, with a block rate of 4.9, steal rate of 4.3, both incredibly high marks, especially for shooting guard, off-ball wing. And then you look at the shooting, and it just totally fell off for him. He couldn't buy a shot. 30% from three on 11.7 3-point attempts per 100 possessions. Not what you want. Where are you at with Mr. Byrd?
I think you put it spot on there. This was a dream 3-and-D guy, where it was looking like, oh my gosh, look at the playmaking defensively that Miles Byrd has as a backcourt running mate at 6'7". You were like, this is fantastic. Gave me a lot of Tayshaun Prince vibes to start the year, where I was like, okay, lengthy lefty, skinny, but can shoot it a little bit, can run the floor. And then the year keeps going on, and we see the 3-point shot just kind of start to plummet a little bit. And you're like, okay, can he bounce back to really get this consistency up to showcase that, like, hey, I'm just having a bad slump? Then it just kept going. It kept going. And we're like, when is he going to heat up again? It's one of these players that I thought made the right decision to go back, because I just thought, hey, you can't make up this much ground in just a combine setting. I'm excited to see what he does this year. I think he needs a big year. He needs to showcase the versatility in his game that, obviously it's one thing to be really talented defensively, have some playmaking ability on that side of the ball, but I think there needs to show some flashes, some development offensively to really get his draft stock to heat up. What about yourself, Micah?
Yeah, and those defensive playmaking numbers are insane. but they're also a symptom of him jumping and biting and gambling.
The gambler,
on
yeah.
everything. Like he was the easiest guy to get off his feet because a simple shot fake and he was jumping at it. He'd get in foul trouble. He'd jump every passing lane possible. Those result in really good defensive playmaking numbers. It also left his team out to dry a lot because he was getting in foul trouble or flying by on sloppy closeouts or trying to jump a pass that he had no business doing. So I'm hoping to see, even if those defensive playmaking numbers come down a little bit, as long as if that coincides with him being more disciplined and consistent as a defender, then it's like, oh, thank God. But at the end of the day, he can't shoot 30% on that type of volume. Again, I know he had wrist or hand injury in the middle of the season, or so there's some upper body, hand, arm injury that he was battling, but there's a lot of issues with that shot, and he's got to get out. Minimum above 35%, because I'm assuming the volume is going to be somewhat similar. But him and Magoon Gawath might be must-watch TV over at San Diego State. Finally, Ian Jackson transferring from North Carolina to St. John's. Tough year for Captain Jack. Where are you at with him?
Tough one. This is a tough one because, we talked about him a lot last year coming in as a freshman that we thought could make some noise, Captain Jack. Even we talked about the FIBA play. See, folks, it matters. We've been doing this for a while. We talked about that. He goes to North Carolina. We're like, this could be a tough fit for Jackson at North Carolina with the backcourt they had. I believe they had Elliot Cadeau there. Seth Trimble was still there. I'm blanking on another name. Metcalf. Yep, there you go. Drake Powell was there. RJ Davis. There you go. That's the one I was looking for. So they had a lot of vets that were trying to keep their playing time, and they had a lot of young guys that were trying to earn some. Ian eventually got to a point where they're like, we have to get someone to score. And he's like, I'll do it. And unfortunately, it just turned into a point where we were like, hey, can Ian do anything other than that? Yeah. I think this is a big year for Ian Jackson. He's going to St. John's now. Rick Pitino, this is the perfect type of guard for Rick Pitino to work with to try to bring out the versatility, make him an actual point guard, because I'm never worried about Ian Jackson's ability to score. The kid can be a bucket if he needs to be. He's got the ability to light it up from the perimeter. He's lightning quick. He could take people off the bounce. I want to see the rest of the game come together, Metcalf. I think the playmaking, being an actual table setter, needs to be unlocked this year. I think there's playmaking flashes on the defensive side of the ball. I think there's some ability to be untapped. I just want to see if he can find it. I think Rick Pitino's the guy to do it.
Yeah, it'd be great if he turned into like a really dynamic secondary creator or something on offense. Even if he doesn't, I don't really care. For me, it's the big thing is the defense. It was so bad last year. Like we get an occasional flash per game, but there's no consistency, and especially off ball. He had no idea what he was doing. I think Pitino's a really good guy. I mean, we saw how competitive and nasty that St. John's team was defensively last year. If he can get the most out of Ian on that end of the floor this year, then I think we're talking about him as getting back into that first round conversation. Because I think the scoring, the transition stuff is really fun. The outside shot was solid last year. I think it comes down to more so just decision making and selection on the offensive end, and then he just not be horrible on defense? And I think the situation really factored into a lot of the struggles with him his freshman year. The tools are there. It's just, can Pitino unlock them? And I think he can. But next up, some guys who could very easily overtake these guys and skyrocket up boards in the shooting guard category of the 2026 NBA draft. All right, let's rapid fire elevator pitch some of these guys. There's a whole bunch of names who could really emerge as, maybe not quite sleepers, but fringe guys who quickly elevate into, oh no, this is a dude this year. The one I want to start out with, 6'5" shooting guard from North Carolina State, Paul McNeil. Had some incredible stretches down the stretch of last year. Very, very excited to see what he can do as a sophomore, and just the lanky shot creation and scoring versatility that he showcased and improved month over month last year. Very excited to see how that translates into Will Wade's first season as head coach there.
Man, everyone's been pumping up Paul McNeil. I love it. I hope everyone's right, because I feel like half of draft Twitter or draft fans in general that we talk to is just like Paul McNeil. So I'm pumped to see. NC State's going to be a lot of fun this year. I'm going to give a little bit of a freshman heavy hitter that we'll probably be talking a lot about this year, Metcalf, but Braylon Mullins.
Yeah.
My guy. I love him. He is stacked. He's a talented player. He can light it up from anywhere you want. I think this is going to be a sleeper. When I'm putting it this way, he's not going to be a sleeper in the draft. He's going to be a well-known name. It's not going to take a lot of time. He's going to UConn. I think he's a sleeper to go top 5. I really do feel that strong about his game. Yeah, you quote it. Clip it. Clip this. Throw it in a quote, whatever you want. I think this Braylon Mullins could be a top 5 pick at the end of the year. It's a 6'7" sniper with athleticism, good feel, a good basketball player. So there you go. There's some preseason spice for you.
Next up for me, I'm not going to get that spicy, but a guy I adore and just hope he can shoot at all. Billy Richmond at sophomore at Arkansas. I love this dude. Just going back to his high school stuff. I remember for Aaron Bradshaw and DJ Wagner's freshman year doing the summer high school prep, that year before the season. And every time you're like, who is this psycho wing just playing like his head's on fire every second he's out there? And it's like, oh, Billy Richmond. Oh, he's kind of fun. And it just immediately translated to Arkansas last year. Insane defender, really fun playmaker. He's just so chaotic and can't shoot, at least last year. So if the shot and the scoring develop at all, if the game slows down just a little bit mentally for him, I think he could be a cult favorite because he's already one of mine.
Man, Billy was a really good shout out. I'm a big Billy Richmond fan as well. Me, Metcalf, I feel like every time off the air throughout the year last year, we were just like, man, Billy Richmond he takes that next step because the tools are there. The scouts are watching too. The scouts are like, I think he's going to explode this year. So Billy Richmond's a good one. Man, I'm going to go with I don't know if this is going to be a one and done guy or this is going to be a big sophomore breakout guy, but Isaiah Harwell going to Houston is one of my guys. I'm really excited to see. Anytime you're going to Houston, I'm going to be very pumped to see how you play basketball because they just know how to teach these kids the right way on both sides of the ball. So I think Harwell is one of those names I'm keeping an eye on to see how quickly are things going to fall into place. We say that with a lot of freshmen because, hey, takes time with a lot of these kids. Sometimes it's not going to be a one and done, but can he prove himself early on for a team like that if you're not ready to play, they're fine with not playing you. Just because you're a big time recruit, you got to earn your minutes. So I want to see what Harwell does this year.
Obligatory mention of Tyrone Riley. He's everyone's. He was a potential one and done darling. Sleeper last year, but then consistency, name of the game, wasn't there. Very excited to see what his sophomore year at San Francisco looks like. Very fun player, and the fact that he stayed there, I think is a really fun choice. But I think it also hints a little that he might be getting a lot of usage. Like the ball is going to be in his hands a lot. So I'm curious to see if we see a little less off ball stuff with him and quite a bit more on ball.
I'll rattle off a couple. Blake Harper going to Creighton. We've talked about him a couple times briefly, but transfer from Howard, legit. I don't know if you want to put him as a 1, as a 2, as a 3. He can play. So he's got good size, he's got good feel, and he can score. Also, we mentioned earlier Paul McNeil. I'm going to give a teammate, freshman incoming Matthew Abel, sleeper. Keep an eye on him. That's the guy I like a lot. So there's 2 more. If people want to come after us and be the police Metcalf about, they're not a shooting guard, they're a wait. Whatever, you know what we're talking about. They play
we'll just
on the
mention
perimeter,
them
they
on the
can
next
shoot.
one. Then. We'll double down.
Anyone else for you?
There are a lot. Sean Abayev at Cincinnati, really fun lefty. He'll shoot it. Fun player.
Stojakovic going to Illinois. There you
Yeah.
go.
And there are a lot. And I feel like the shooting guard position is one where that's really, really prone to having guys just come out of the woodwork of like, where did you come from?
Right.
And just really shock us, really surprise us in the most pleasant way possible. But Rucker, this was a blast. As always, everyone, thank you for making us your first listen of the day. I'm Tyler Metcalf. You can follow me at TMetcalf11. He is Tyler Rucker. You can follow him at Tyler_Rucker. Thank you for listening to Locked On NBA Draft with No Ceilings.